Stay in the know with this comprehensive video on the latest developments for the United Launch Alliance's next-generation Vulcan Centaur rocket. Discover more about the delays CEO Elon Musk predicted more than 5 years ago and what ULA is doing to combat them. Learn about the delays that have been predicted for the project more than 5 years ago and what ULA is doing to address them. So space lovers, this one's for you. Let's find out everything in today's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my channel.
Elon Musk's predictions are not always fulfilled, but when they are, they save you a bad time. In the latest developments for SpaceX competitor United Launch Alliance's next-generation Vulcan Centaur rocket, it looks like CEO Elon Musk was right all along when he forecast major delays more than 5 years ago. This is truly an interesting story when a competitor with a century rocket experience like ULA lost to a young private company, Elon Musk. In February 2018, Elon Musk made a bold promise regarding the ultimate development of ULA's Vulcan rocket. "I'll seriously eat my hat with a side of mustard. That rocket flies a national security spacecraft before 2023. During that time, space enthusiasts eagerly anticipated the moment when Elon Musk would eat his hat with mustard. But even years later, the Vulcan rocket couldn't take flight, and we still haven't witnessed the side of SpaceX's talented CEO munching on his hat. To avoid Elon Musk being too busy forgetting about this promise, renowned space journalist Eric Berger shared the conversation on his X page to welcome the new year. After that, Elon Musk responded humorously saying, "Guess my hat will remain uneaten." At first glance, Elon Musk's statement may seem like a confirmation I'm not having to eat the hat. But in reality, it carries another meaning. To gain a deeper understanding of this story, let's go back to the past in 2018. Like many of Musk's promises and predictions, this one arose to correct the person who was criticizing one of his products, the Falcon Heavy. Even before SpaceX had flown Falcon Heavy for the first time, detractors with axes to grind were already busy attempting to downplay the rocket capabilities. On February 6, Falcon Heavy lifted off for the first time, launching a several-ton Tesla Roadster car into interplanetary space and marking the first debut of a super heavy lift rocket since the 1980s. The successful launch also meant that ULA's last bastion of competitive advantage to the Delta IV Heavy rocket, fittingly by way of monopoly, was no longer alone. Indeed, mere months after its near-flawless debut, Falcon Heavy has already secured its first operational U.S. military launch contract. Delta IV Heavy, on the other hand, had already been preparing for retirement as part of ULA's plan to replace two complex rockets, Delta and Atlas, with Vulcan. Musk mercilessly took to task ULA's heavy lift rocket when commenters brought it up, noting that Falcon Heavy is largely comparable in a partially reusable configuration but completely outclasses at Delta IV Heavy, while still being dramatically cheaper if all boosters are expended. This contract's cost in the U.S. taxpayer billions of dollars for no reason. Musk once attacked the cost of ULA missions. The SpaceX CEO estimated that Delta IV Heavy launches would cost ULA significantly more than the $400 million after the company had effectively announced the end of Delta for medium production, though ULA CEO Tory Bruno still claimed a launch price tag of around $350 million. In response to a reply noting that ULA planned to replace Atlas V and Delta IV with Vulcan Centaur for launches after 2020, Musk pulled no punches, stating that he would seriously eat his hat with a side of mustard if Vulcan flies a national security spacecraft before 2023. At that time, Tory Bruno, CEO of ULA, responded with a terse, "Wow." Immediately after that, ULA continued with its plans. However, the maiden flight of the Vulcan Centaur has been delayed several times since 2018. Firstly, because it took a long time for Blue Origin to deliver the first two B4 engines of the first stage to ULA. These engines use liquid methane instead of liquid hydrogen and have not flown on any rockets yet. They will debut with the Vulcan and will also be used on Blue Origin's future New Glenn rocket. Elon Musk has sworn to Jeff Bezos and has been picking on ULA over engine delays until a couple of years ago. "I can send you some spare engines just in case," he told Bruno on one occasion. "Thanks for the offer, but I heard that your birds need quite a few to fly and I wouldn't want you to be short," Bruno replied, referring to the almost 40 methane engines each Starship uses. Even though it's just a playful remark, look at it this way: whether it's 40 engines or 60 engines, SpaceX can handle it. After all, up to now, SpaceX's engine manufacturing facilities can produce up to 2 engines per day, unlike Blue Origin. I dare say their engine count is probably less than 1/3 of what SpaceX has built. In October 2022, the Vulcan engines eventually arrived. However, the debut of the Vulcan was delayed again due to the explosion in April 2023 during ground tests of the second stage Centaur 5. Later, there was also a hydrogen leak in the first stage, and the engine troubles persist with an explosion of one of Blue Origin's engines in May 2023. Blue Origin says it's already identified the proximate cause of the failure and it's presumably working on a fix for future versions of the engine. Still, the fact that any of the engines that Blue Origin is building for ULA are still blowing up has to worry ULA, and it's probably going to have an impact on the company's schedule for flying the rocket. Those problems were also behind us, and the rocket was finally ready to fly in late 2023. Its first mission, scheduled for Christmas Eve, was to send the CLPS-1 mission to the Moon, the return of the United States to the lunar surface after 50 years. However, ULA is also racing towards the finish line with its new rocket, the Vulcan Centaur. Scheduled for launch on Monday, January 8 from Space Launch Complex 41, at Cape Canaveral, the 61.6-meter Vulcan Centaur marks ULA's first new rocket design in nearly 2 decades, signifying a significant milestone. Although the mostly expendable Vulcan Centaur might not be groundbreaking in terms of technology, it represents a substantial step forward for ULA, a joint venture of Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Vulcan integrates design elements from ULA's successful Atlas V and Delta IV rockets, positioning itself as their successor. It boasts the capability to deliver payloads across various destinations from low Earth orbit and geosynchronous orbit to missions exploring lunar and deep space. With its versatility, the rocket can accommodate multiple payloads, making it a highly adaptable spacecraft. Available in 4 standard configurations, Vulcan Centaur's payload capacity varies depending on the number of solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, utilized. 0, 2, 4, or 6 being the configurations. Its maximum capability enables it to carry up to 25.8 metric tons to low Earth orbit and 7 metric tons to geostationary orbit. Although SpaceX's Falcon Heavy has greater lift capacity to both LEO and GEO, Vulcan Centaur stands out due to its flexibility and adaptability to various mission profiles. Vulcan Centaur could significantly impact the spaceflight industry, potentially enabling ULA to match SpaceX's lower launch prices as reported by The Motley Fool. SpaceX, renowned for transforming space travel with cost-effective launches like the $76 million Falcon 9, prompted ULA to respond with a more budget-friendly alternative. The upcoming Vulcan launch, anticipated to cost less than $100 million, heralds a substantial cost reduction compared to ULA's $400 million Delta IV Heavy. This competitive pricing strategy allows ULA to stay relevant, evident in its shared $2.5 billion Space Force contract with SpaceX, even without the benefit of reusable rockets. The cost-effectiveness of Vulcan Centaur may lead to reduced revenues for Boeing and Lockheed Martin, but it could offer long-term benefits. This marks a potentially tighter competition in the space launch sector. Customers must consider factors beyond launch costs, including fairing adaptability and the growing issue of backlogs. The introduction of SpaceX's Starship mega rocket could add complexity to ULA's landscape, but only time will reveal its true impact. In the current year of 2024, let's delve into SpaceX's strategy to achieve its launch. Objectives. Elon Musk is getting closer to achieving his goal of Starship Flight 3. Watch this video to find out how engineers have recently moved S-28 back to the production site, mirroring the relocation of B-10. Get all the latest updates on Starship Flight 3. Step-by-step SpaceX, the space exploration enterprise helmed by Elon Musk, is nearing Starship Flight 3. Just yesterday, Starbase engineers moved S-28 back to the production site, mirroring B-10's recent relocation after removing the lifting point. Looking back, the Starship S-24 test campaign was notably swift and successful. The contrast between Ship 28's journey and that of Ship 24 and 25 is striking. Ship 28's test list so far includes 2 true testing and eventually launch. In contrast, the testing regimens for Ship 24 and 25 were much more extensive. Ship 24 underwent 3 cryoproof tests, 6 spin primes, and 3 static fires, in addition to several undisclosed tests spanning from May to December of 2022. Ship 25's testing was relatively simpler, involving 5 cryoproofs, 1 spin prime, and 1 static fire alongside other undisclosed tests. The testing spanned 2 periods from October to November of 2022 and from May to June of 2023. This time, disparity was due to the vehicle's improvements. Ship 24 was the first prototype involved in integrated flight testing, lacking any previous real flight data. In contrast, Ship 25 benefited from insights gathered from Flight 1. Regrettably, Ship 24 met an early demise due to an explosion. However, with Ship 28, the outlook began to shine brighter. Its predecessor's success in Flight 2 demonstrated the ship's considerable reliability. As the process becomes simpler, it demands less time. With the return of Ship 28, this prototype is set to undergo final pre-flight checks and reconfigurations. Currently, the removal of lifting points is underway. Historically, tiling over these locations has proven to be a time-consuming task. SpaceX might just be weeks away from preparing both vehicles for flight, yet the company hasn't provided an update on the lessons learned from the previous Starship test flight in November. Despite the overall success of the flight, the Super Heavy booster's 33 engines flawlessly powered the launch, propelling the Starship upper stage into space. However, the upper stage experienced self-destruction over the Gulf of Mexico. Moreover, the booster encountered issues during its return maneuver, resulting in an explosion before a controlled splashdown at sea. The company's engineers are now dedicated to identifying and resolving the underlying causes of these challenges. Once the analysis is complete, the Federal Aviation Administration must review and approve the investigation into the previous Starship flight before granting a new commercial launch license to the world's leading private aerodynamics firm. For the upcoming flight, Starship aims to attain near-orbital velocity, enabling it to cover a substantial distance around the Earth before re-entering the atmosphere near Hawaii. While validating the performance of Starship's heat shield tiles during re-entry holds significant importance for the comprehension of Musk's space venture, the ultimate goal remains achieving a fully successful launch. This signifies the initial phase of the privately funded Starship program's pursuits. Simultaneously, the leading innovator of aerospace is actively preparing additional Starship vehicles in line with the company's development approach, emphasizing frequent test flights and swift iteration. I think, maybe by the end of the year, they will actually get a down pat in a functional way. Not on cadence, but just demonstrating the reusability. Justice Pamor, CEO of the venture capital and advisory firm Fortuna Investments, which focuses heavily on the space industry, said of SpaceX's Starship efforts. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.